YouTube? What is up? Welcome back to the Radar for Wrestling Studios. AEW Dynamite just finished up. We have two takeaways for you guys from AEW Dynamite. One having to do with the new signing, and the other one having to do with the interesting moment between Darby Allin and Sting. This episode of AEW Dynamite was so-so. Next week's episode is going to be the big show before Revolution. It's been tagline AEW Dynamite Crossroads. So they're saving everything for that, and then obviously Revolution. So this is kind of one of those in-between shows that get kind of lost in the mix. We had a couple things that were kind of interesting. New build-up towards MJF, Chris Jericho, and the Bucks. We had a couple things like that. More build-up towards Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega's title bout at Revolution, and that barbed wire explosive death match that they're gonna have. So we got a few things to get into for a so-so episode of AEW Dynamite. So let's jump into them and get to those two takeaways. But before we do, I want to remind you guys, drop a like and a comment on this video. Let me know what you guys think of AEW's current product, which you thought of tonight's episode, which you think's gonna happen next week and at Revolution, and are you excited for any of those matchups, or are you disappointed in the build-ups to them? So let me know in the comment section below. Love to hear you guys' opinions. Continue to grow the community. Appreciate you guys for commenting on these videos and letting me know your opinions on these things. If you're watching, not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel notification bell, because those new videos drop. Social medias, you already know what that is. Hit me up on there if you guys just want to chat wrestling. Let's get into it. Two takeaways from AEW Dynamite, and we're gonna start off with the biggest news, and that's the guy behind us, formerly known as the Big Show, Paul Wight, is All Elite. He has signed a contract with AEW. Don't know if he's going to have any matches, but it was announced earlier today, that he is part of AEW. Interesting. I assume that, I haven't heard much from the Big Show that he had on Netflix with WWE. I guess that got canceled, didn't really pan out, so he has no reason to stay with the company. They weren't going to use him anyway, so he's leaving, coming in to AEW and being announced to be All Elite. So we'll see what happens with him. Hopefully they don't go down the road between him and Shaq, because that's a match that's been teased for years by WWE, but just never happened. Hopefully they don't go down that road with Shaq now being in AEW and having a match next week, that tag match. Hopefully they don't go along with that. But it's just another ex-WWE guy, an older guy that they're bringing in. Hopefully not in-ring. They did it with Sting. Obviously they have Jericho. They have Moxley. So they have a few guys, Matt Hardy, that are just former WWE guys that people tend to not like that fact that they're in the company and they're former WWE guys. And they're featured pretty prominently. So I don't think Paul Wight will be that case. I think he'll be more of like a backstage agent type, and maybe even do some commentary, because it was announced that he would do some AEW dark commentary with Tony Schiavone. So we'll see how that goes. But I think it's just more of that role. I don't think he's gonna have too much of an in-ring. If he does, maybe sparingly here and there. I know people don't want to hear that. They don't want to see him in the ring, most likely, especially with those final days in WWE being so lackluster. His final years actually being so lackluster in WWE. So that's takeaway number one. Paul Wight is now All Elite. The formerly known as Big Show is now in AEW. We'll see what his role ends up fleshing out to be. I don't think it's gonna be anything too crazy that you guys have to be worried about. So let's jump into AEW Dynamite. AEW Dynamite started off with Nick Nemeth taking on Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley comes in, takes him down quick and easy. Moxley is the win. He cuts a very fiery, energetic promo afterwards, talking about the barbed wire match, the explosive barbed wire match he's gonna have against Kenny Omega at Revolution. Very emphatic promo, talking about how he's addicted to wrestling, addicted to all this. So so it's just a good setup to that match. Even though I'm not a fan of them having that match still, I think it's kind of over the top and ridiculous to have that match, but it is what it is. They're going to have it, and we'll see how it goes. But it was a solid start to the show, because Moxley's promo at the end was so good. So it came off really, really good. And his energy, his emphatic nature, the way he delivered it came off really, really well. You could feel that he believes everything he's saying, and it's obviously a different Jon Moxley than the one in Dean Ambrose in WWE. He's got a lot more fire beneath him, and you can tell what he's having fun doing what he's doing. So that's the way the show started off. Next thing was Team Taz versus the Hollywood Blondes. This is an interesting match. So we have Ricky Starks and Brian Cage with Team Taz taking on the Hollywood Blondes. Cage and Starks get the win. Now, here's the interesting thing. After the match, you have Sting's music play, and there's a video on the screen. You see Sting's gloves carrying a body bag, opening up, and Darby Allin comes out of the body bag. Then Sting comes out with Snow, like as per usual, brings out the body bag, drags it, and inside his hook, Taz's son, and then he points to the sky. Sting does, and here comes Darby Allin in a zipline. This is takeaway number 2 of the night.
Pointing to the rafters! It's Darby Allin! Look at this! Darby Allin on the zipline with the skateboard in hand! Coming to take it to Team Taz! He's got the skateboard right! Ricky Starks!
because here comes Darby Allin. You can see behind my head that Darby Allin is coming in on a zip line similar to Sting. He's not coming out from the rafters, but he's kind of just sliding through. I assume it's safer that way. But he slides in with skateboard in hand, gets into the ring, and starts beating up Ricky Starks and Brian Cage, and so does Sting. Sting starts taking down Brian Cage, hits him with a Scorpion Death Drop, which is interesting. I mean, you have Brian Cage, who's a physical specimen, a younger guy, and a guy like Sting coming in and really taking him out. But you could play off the fact that Darby hit him with the skateboard in the face first, so maybe that's the reason why it happened. It's fine in terms of, people are upset that a part-time old guy's coming in and getting a spot like this, but it isn't a title spot. It's just kind of like a tag team match, just kind of give the shine to Darby Allin. They're really pushing Darby Allin as like the next kind of Sting character, especially with him coming down the zip line. I thought the zip line was comical looking. I didn't think anything came off that well. I didn't really enjoy the fact that he came into the zip line like that, especially with skateboard and hand. Looks kind of just comical. If you would have flipped the channels and you would have just turned this on and you would have saw a guy going through a zip line like that with face paint and a skateboard in hand, I don't know. And then the way the guys, Ricky Starks and Brian Cage are just kind of staring at him as he kind of flies in. I thought it was comical. I didn't think he'd come off that well. Sting is what it is. He's there. He's gonna have the tag match. We'll see what he does after the tag match. I don't think he's gonna have like a major in-ring run with AEW, but he's just there to build Darby Allin to that next big thing that Sting was, similar to that. I'm assuming this mostly is all a call from the network and Tony Khan. I assume the network came to Tony Khan and told him, look, you got a chance to get Sting, bring him in, and we want to see him, like, we want to have Darby Allin be the next like character like that, so we want to put them together. I assume that this is where this all comes from. It's a network thing, most likely. That's why he has the TNT Championship. So we'll see what happens going forward. But that's takeaway number 2. The comical zipline spot with Darby Allin. Next thing they showed was Jake Hager versus Brandon Cutler. They got into a little bit of a scuffle last week during the whole Young Bucks Inner Circle beatdown. Hager gets the win, defeats Cutler. Then you have Inner Circle come out to beat down Cutler. The Young Bucks come in, clear the ring, and they're calling out Chris Jericho and MJF. Chris Jericho and MJF come on a Titantron. In the beginning of the show, you saw the Young Bucks take a picture in front of like one of the big 18-wheelers because their pictures were on it, and they were there with their father and mother. So they took a picture in front, and then it cuts to the back. You see MJF and Chris Jericho with the bloody father of the Young Bucks and beating his ass. So I mean, I think he kind of deserved it with the way he was dressed. But either way, he's bloody, a bloody mess. I see the way this is supposed to come off as like heinous, and you're supposed to, be like, oh my God, I can't believe that they did that to their dad. But it came off more like entertaining and fun than it probably should have. Maybe it's just the way Chris Jericho comes off nowadays, and just MJF, how they're endearing they are to the crowd and to the fans, that, it just doesn't come off like how it probably should. And you're supposed to make this kind of be heated, but in the end, I don't think it adds too much to it, because if you're watching it, if you're a fan, you kind of found it entertaining and interesting, but not like to the point where you're just upset about it. Like, you feel like, oh, he's a heel, I hate him because of that type of thing. You don't get any heat from it. From my perspective, I see it as more entertaining, and you just kind of looked at it funny. So we'll see what happens in next week before their matchup at Revolution. Next thing on the show was Hangman Adam Page versus Isiah Kassidy. They had this issue last week with the beatdown, as Isiah Kassidy was dressed up like Jackson Duvall, the Jaguars mascot. Page gets the win. Dark Order was there too. They all started brawling, and that's pretty much it. Allin Angles got thrown off the stage through a table by Matt Hardy. They chased him down afterwards. We'll see what happens. They have the match at Revolution to see who. It's a money match to see who pays whose salary, or whatever the case, and who gives up their salary for the first quarter. That's what it's all about. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it's not great, but it's a storyline. It's just kind of there. Next thing on the show was the women's world title eliminator matchup, semifinal: Britt Baker versus Nyla Rose. This was interesting. The match was fine. I think it was well done. It got a spotlight. It got a showcase, which is good for the women's division in AEW, which I think is one of the worst aspects of the show. But it was a good spot. My beef with this is that Nyla Rose got the win. Nyla Rose, the former AEW Women's Champion for a while, she lost to Hikaru Shida. She got her rematch. She's so been on and off TV that you haven't seen her. Britt Baker is more of the person that's been on TV longer and more consistently than Nyla Rose in recent memory. So I think Britt Baker is the megastar of the women's division. She has the best personality, the best character, the best on-mic skill. She should be the one that wins this tournament and becomes AEW Women's Champion. I've been calling this out for a while, that Britt Baker deserves to be AEW Women's Champion. The fact that she isn't is a travesty. But the fact that she hasn't even come close to really winning it is a travesty. And next week you have Riho versus Thunder Rosa to see who faces Nyla Rose in the finals. So it's interesting. I don't know. It's weird. I think Britt Baker should have been the winner of this. You could have went Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker in the finals to see who faces the final for the finalists from the Japanese side. But I just didn't like it. I thought the match was good, but I think Britt Baker should have won. Britt Baker is a star, and it just doesn't really make much sense to me. Why AEW is so hesitant to go all in on Baker. Maybe it's because she's been injured previously, but the fact is she's the star, and she should be the top of the women's division, be the champion, and be kind of just running the division. It should be that way, especially when Nyla Rose not even really being on television that much. She pretty much dropped the Vicky Guerrero thing. It was forgettable. So it is what it is. We'll see how the tournament shapes out. Maybe Thunder Rosa end up being the AEW Women's Champion. Next thing on the show was the Face of the Revolution ladder qualifier match. So at Revolution, you're gonna have Face of the Revolution, which is a corny name for the ladder match to see who gets a shot at Darby Allin's TNT Championship. This was Rey Fenix and Lance Archer. So far, you have Cody, Penta, and Scorpio Sky qualifying for this match. So it's between Archer and Phoenix who gets the next spot. And in the end, Archer gets the win. It was a really good match. Archer's very solid in the ring, and Phoenix, you know what you're gonna get out of him. Tremendous, fleet-footed, quick on his feet, very at home in the wrestling ring. Knows every inch of it. Tremendous balance, and he's just a tremendous performer. But in the end, Archer gets the win, and he qualifies for the ladder match. I don't think he's going to win. I just think he has the momentum behind him. I think this ladder match should be won by Scorpio Sky. The Scorpio Sky needs to get pushed. He hasn't been on TV for a while, and he needs to get pushed hard, to that next level. And I think he should beat Darby Allin for that TNT Championship in the future. I think that's my pick to win it. That's the guy I think should win it. He'll gain the most from it, Scorpio Sky. But it was a fantastic match between the two. And we'll see what happens going forward in that ladder match, next Sunday on pay-per-view at AEW Revolution. But that's the review I got for you guys today. AEW Dynamite, 2 takeaways from a halfway decent show, a so-so show, a one in between. Last thing I want to cover is this interesting segment where you have Kenny Omega and Don Callis kind of building the barbed wire explosives, and God knows what the hell Kenny Omega was wearing during this. But yeah, I thought it was pretty funny. I also thought it was kind of ridiculous, the fact that he's trying to cut this promo and you hear the saws in the back, so you could barely hear what he's saying. So they cut the promo kind of short. But yeah, growing pains from the AEW there. But that's the review I got for you guys today. 2 takeaways. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys thought of this show, what you guys think of next week's show, which is the big show Crossroads, and then AEW Revolution, how you think everything's going to play out. So let me know in the comment section below what you guys think of that. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Remember, for the Mercury Brother, not to the job.